Mada ya kukaribisha. Thank you. Thank you. Tuketi tafadhali. Shukran. Vijana wa Afrika Mashariki hoye! Hebu tusalimiane hewani. Shukran, nashukuru sana. Now, Your Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, former President of the United Republic of Tanzania and patron of Youlead, great young people of East Africa, our partners, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure really this afternoon to deliver the following remarks on behalf of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya. And he addresses you as follows. I am delighted to really be a part of this youth summit of young leaders from East Africa and other parts of our continent of Africa, gathering here to discuss the place of young people in shaping the future of the East African community and our world. I warmly welcome you to Nairobi, Kenya, and indeed to the East African community. I commend the leadership of His Excellency Jakaya Kikwete, the patron and co-convener of this summit with the Secretary General of the East African community, for making it possible to host this important Youth Leadership Summit here in Nairobi. The overarching principle and target here really is that the East African community must embrace youth as champions of African solutions to African problems. Our youth must be champions of East African and indeed African integration. Our youth must be the champions of climate change adaptation. Our youth must be the champions of peace and security in our region. Our youth must be the champions of innovative job creation. Our youth must be the champions of accountable, values-driven governance. I have no doubt that you're more than up to this task, kwa sababu uwezo munao, sababu munazo, azma vile vile munayo. Haya, twende sasa. Indeed, the United Nations and the World Bank statistics show that Africa has the youngest population in the world, with 70% of sub-Saharan Africa under the age of 30. We are staring at a youth bulge that we must comprehensively address by looking and exploring solutions and proposals of youth, by youth, and for youth. Such a high number of young people is an opportunity for the continent's growth, but only if these new generations are fully empowered to realize their immense potential. It is crucial that young people are included in decision-making and are given appropriate opportunities to work and to innovate. Going by the statistics, having a young population brings with it many opportunities for economic growth and innovation, if these opportunities can be recognized and utilized. We must position East Africa to benefit from these demographic dividends. We must invest in youth education, skills, and health to transform East Africa. The current demographic history of our region requires strong country and whole of ESC commitment to the development of human capital to help the region leapfrog the challenges that we are confronted with today. I'm aware that young people gathering here today are champions in various fields: business, politics, peace building, and many others. That means young people are highly skilled, they're motivated, they're innovative, they're ready to drive Africa's renaissance, and they're worthy of investment and enabling policy environment to invigorate their inventiveness. This has been the commitment of the East African community and its partner states since its onset, capitalizing on the potential of the youth of the region to achieve the greater EAC vision by 2050 and the Africa we want 2063 aspirations. The expanding geopolitical and socio-economic construction of the East Africa community, with the coming on board of the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2022 and the potential joining of the Federal Republic of Somalia, brings with it the need to unlock strategic incentives for diplomatic and interstate relations, consolidate enterprise scaling and efficient productivity that the youth will tap into the increased intra-regional trade. The EAC will greatly rely on the young business entrepreneurs and political leaders to enhance the security, economic, and governance architecture of the large market potential of the expanded East African community. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, Nairobi will play host to the Kenya Innovation Week Commonwealth Edition from the 27th of November to 1st December to showcase some of the innovations from young people from around the Commonwealth, all the 56 member countries, and indeed the globe. Let me take this opportunity to invite you all to this event and share opportunities that impact young people and their communities. Indeed, for a long time now, the young people of East Africa, the whole of Africa, have advocated for a collapse of the border, which should be reinforced by reduced cost of communication and traveling within the region. This will definitely be the game changer in increasing intra-EAC trade and driving the region towards industrialization. Kenya is also set to host the 6th edition of the Youth Connect Africa Summit 2023 here in Nairobi. From the 8th to the 12th of December. The theme of this particular summit is Youth Innovating a Borderless African Renaissance. This summit will bring together 20,000 young people, government officials, business leaders, and other stakeholders from across the length and breadth of the African continent and beyond to discuss and explore issues related to youth development and identify custom-made solutions that can be implemented to improve the lives of young people in the whole of Africa. The EAC is accordingly presented with a mega opportunity here for its vibrant youth, and I take this opportunity once again to extend to you an invitation to not only be a part of this, but indeed to join Kenya in playing host to the rest of the African continent. And still at this continental level, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AfCFTA, provides an exciting point of takeoff for our continent's trade and entrepreneurship. The benefits of African Continental Free Trade Area can only be achieved by the free movement of goods and people, which comprise of individuals that are free-thinking, innovative, creative, and entrepreneurial young men and women. grappling to deepen intercontinental and cross-continental trade and commerce. The member states of the African Union will need to work harder and expedite the implementation of visa-free movement across our borders, a common travel document passport. We commend efforts put in place to make the AFCFTA promise a reality for African youth and women. Note to reiterate the rationale for the negotiation and prospective adoption of the AFCFTA protocol on women and youth. Kenya reinforces calls to accord young people the opportunity to take leadership and encourage a notion of identity that seeks to lift others as a priority in the current global ecosystem. Sustaining the commitment to capacity building for the young population, warranting the African Union Agenda 2023, the UN SDGs, regional and national development plans, all these must be turned into reality for our young people. The intention of the government of Kenya, as are the intention of other African governments, I believe, is to show up the spirit of solidarity, to support our youth and their priorities, and reinforce their underlying agenda. Development must happen for our young people. And this investment will drive green growth, reduce unemployment, and propel youth skilling and capacity building for the Africa we want. The government of Kenya, and indeed the East African community, is working towards creating the space and opportunities for sustainable development of youth leadership in all spheres. Here in Kenya, we have consolidated all youth-centric planning and execution under one important ministry, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy, and Sports, deliberately giving emphasis to the emergent new force in economic development, the creative economy. Like the youth of Kenya, I urge all the youth of East Africa to make sure you are not left behind as we shape the future of the East African Political Federation. You, young people, are the leaders of the envisioned Federation of East African countries. Let me conclude by applauding and congratulating the first cohort of 28 youth who graduate today from the East African Community Leadership Fellowship. Together. With these remarks, I wish to declare the East African Youth Leadership Summit 2023 officially on and wish you all the best in your deliberations to conclusion. Asante sana. Those are the remarks of His Excellency William Samuel Ruto, President of the Republic, who wishes you well and remains a great champion of the youth, not just the youth of Kenya, but the youth of East Africa and the youth of the whole of the African continent. And I'll use this opportunity to add a couple of remarks from myself, kwa sababu mimi pia niko hapa, na siko hapa tu kama sinema. Sasa nimewasilisha ujumbe wa boss wangu, sasa mimi pia niseme machache. And just a couple of things, great youth of East Africa, from myself. One, I want to urge you not to underestimate the power of every little step you make. Never underestimate the power of a single step. Perhaps the monumental significance of that statement can be drawn from an incident that happens on July 20, 1969, when astronaut Neil Armstrong, commander of the Apollo 11 lunar module, steps on the surface of the moon for the first time. First time a human being steps on the surface of the moon, and famously utters these timeless words, and I quote him: "That is one small step for man, but one giant leap for mankind." Every little step you make may seem inconsequential in that moment for you, but the sum total of all the steps you make is an avalanche of effort that makes a difference. Number two, please never stop. Never stop. Never stop in whatever you're doing, in the efforts you're making. Keep moving. And the best example of never stopping is this great role model, the patron of Youlead, His Excellency Jakaya Kikwete. I mean, what hasn't this great son of Africa not achieved? What hasn't he achieved? Some of you are dreaming now to be presidents. He's been president. Some of you are dreaming to be ministers. He's been minister as a youth. Been there, seen it all, done it all. But he's here right now, mentoring, encouraging, pushing you on. You have to keep moving. And as we say, even if you're on the right track, you'll be run over if you just sit there. Keep in motion. And finally, I want to urge you, great youth of East Africa, don't accept to be held back by stereotypes and cliches. And you encounter them every day. They sound like this: "Oh, you're too young." But you're too inexperienced. You barely have an experience. But you're just starting. But you're too small. You know, as they say, what matters in a dog fight is never the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog in that fight. Don't accept to be told, don't accept for anybody to put you down on account of age, on account of experience. We all start somewhere. And I like reminding the youth of Africa that the first generation of African leaders, the first independence generation of this continent, was exceedingly youthful. How old was Nelson Mandela when he joined the struggle in South Africa? Go find out. How old were people like my third president, His Excellency the late Mwai Kibaki? I had the privilege of serving first as a cabinet minister in his administration. By the way, Your Excellency, I was 35. When Kibaki appointed me minister in his administration, I was just exiting the youth stage. Do you know how old Kibaki was when our founding president, Jomo Kenyatta, appointed him Minister for Finance? He was in his 20s. And then you look at that, Kenya's first post-independence cabinet, Mwai Kibaki, Dr. Kiano Gikonyi, they're all in their 20s. Youthful looking people. Today, you are told, you're in your 30s. You're in your late 20s, someone is telling you you're too young. Tell them, come on. So please don't be put down by any cliches, don't be put down by stereotypes. If you are good enough, you are old enough. God bless you.
We can do a standing ovation.